It started with a knock I never heard. When I opened the door that morning, there was nothing. No visitor, no package, just a pastel pink envelope taped to the frame like a warning. Inside, a typed letter from the HOA charging me $12,248.67 for unauthorized aquatic activity. I stared at the number, stunned. Aquatic activity? I hadn't even been in the pool. In fact, I didn't have access. The gate had been locked since the day I moved in. Gator Creek Estates was supposed to be a quiet place. Beige houses, fresh-cut lawns, retirees walking their dogs with identical tennis ball walkers. Nothing ever happened here, until now. I looked around. My street was still, windows drawn. The only movement, a curtain flicking shut 2 houses down. Why me? I hadn't hosted anyone. I didn't even know anyone. I'd kept my head down since I moved in. But the invoice said otherwise. Multiple violations, repeated access to the community pool, children involved. Children? I live alone. Her name was stamped at the bottom, Karen Billings, HOA treasurer. I had seen her before, always patrolling the block in her golf cart, clipboard in hand. She once fined a neighbor for leaving a garden hose out overnight, a woman who smiled with her mouth, but not her eyes. I knocked on her door. She opened, slowly. Her iPad was already recording. "Ah," she said, "I was expecting you." I asked her calmly what the charges were about. She didn't blink. Multiple reports, teenagers, unauthorized guests. The board voted. "You're liable." "I've never even been inside the pool," I said. Her response was ice cold. "Then perhaps you should keep better track of who's using your property." That night, I reviewed my porch cam footage. Nothing unusual. No crowds, no kids, no signs of activity. Still, the charges kept coming. Violation notices, fines, threats of lien placement, each one more aggressive. I started walking the neighborhood, watching, observing. I noticed something strange. Groups of teenagers entering the pool area without wristbands or fobs. They knew the keypad code. Some scaled the fence in broad daylight. One of them? Karen's nephew, recognizable by his neon shirt and smug grin. I followed at a distance. He laughed with his friends, bragging about how his aunt ran the place. My address was being used. But by who? I mounted a hidden trail camera near the pool gate. Days passed. Then, finally, footage. Karen, her nephew, a group of teens. She was holding the gate open. I froze the frame. She looked right into the camera. Was it coincidence, or did she know? I dug deeper, requested access logs. They denied me, claimed privacy laws. I filed a request for HOA financial reports under the transparency statute. They stalled, ignored, evaded. Until one night, an anonymous email appeared in my inbox. Check the pool maintenance numbers. March to May, it doesn't add up. Attached was a spreadsheet. 3 months. Identical pool chemical charges, $3,000 plus each time. I called the supplier. Roy, nice guy, older voice, laughed when I asked. Nah, I've been charging them the same price for years. $900 a month tops. Anything more? That's on them. I printed everything. Photos, invoices, emails, logs. A binder filled with secrets Gator Creek had tried to bury. At the HOA meeting, Karen sat at the head of the table like a queen defending her crown. When I placed the binder in front of her, the room fell silent. I flipped it open. Page by page, her expression cracked. Her nephew, the footage, the inflated invoices, the supplier's statement, a web of lies unraveling in front of everyone. For the first time since I moved in, the power shifted, and I wasn't done yet. The tension in the room was palpable. The neighbors, who had always nodded politely in passing, were now leaning forward, waiting for the next twist. Karen's face drained of color as she tried to shuffle through the pages of the binder I'd placed before her. You can't just, she started, her voice quivering. Can't just what? I cut in, my voice low, steady. Expose the truth? The room was silent, save for the rustling of pages. I had them now. They couldn't turn away, not when everything they thought they knew about Gator Creek was coming undone. I turned the page to a screenshot of an email chain, a message from Karen to the pool maintenance company discussing additional repairs that were never made. They were fabricated charges, the kind that disappear into hidden accounts. One of the neighbors, a retired lawyer named Mr. Jenkins, stood up slowly. He adjusted his glasses, his gaze never leaving Karen. "Karen," he said, his voice surprisingly calm, "you've been pocketing those excess fees, haven't you? And covering it up with these fake invoices." Karen's lips trembled. "I didn't," she broke off, her words faltering. "I think it's time we called the police," Mr. Jenkins continued. He turned to the group. "I've seen enough. What's happening here is more than just a few unauthorized pool visits. It's embezzlement." Karen bolted from the table, her chair screeching across the floor. She was fast, but not faster than the truth. Before she could reach the exit, I stood up and blocked her path. "Where are you going?" I asked, my voice quieter now, but full of purpose. Her eyes flickered to the door, then to the binder in my hands. The crowd was closing in, whispers escalating into murmurs of shock. Karen was cornered. I didn't mean for it to go this far," she whispered, her voice cracking under the weight of the truth. "I was just trying to help my nephew. He needed money, and then it spiraled. I didn't know how to stop it." The room exploded into chaos. People stood, pointing fingers, shouting questions. The whispers of fraud and greed filled the air. Some neighbors took their phones out, capturing the scene, while others called for the authorities. The tables had turned in ways Karen never expected. She was no longer the figure of authority. She was the villain. The next few days were a whirlwind. The police arrived and Karen was arrested, her face ashen as they read her rights. Her nephew, once the cocky teen I'd followed, was also brought in for questioning. The community pool was shut down for inspection, and the HOA board was immediately disbanded, pending further investigation. But that wasn't the end of the story. As Karen was escorted out, I stayed behind, alone. My mind raced through the details, piecing everything together. There had been one thing I hadn't fully understood: the strange accounts, the inconsistencies in the maintenance costs. Something still didn't add up. It wasn't just Karen running this show. Someone else was involved. I went back to my binder, pulling out a final set of documents. A name appeared at the top of the list. A familiar name: Mr. Jenkins, the retired lawyer who had stood up for the truth. The man who had been so calm, so confident. He'd seen the cracks, but now I was seeing him for what he truly was. His role in the cover-up was too clean, too well hidden. I confronted Mr. Jenkins later that night. He didn't seem surprised when I showed him the evidence. "You're too late," he said, his eyes narrowing. "I always knew someone would get too curious." He smiled then, a slow, calculating grin. "I've been watching you, just like you watched her. You had to dig deep enough to find me." And just like that, the neighborhood I thought I knew turned into something far darker. I wasn't finished yet.